Hey, in this video I'll quickly show you everything you need to get started doing Raids 3. A short disclaimer before we continue, this is a day 2 guide. I've done a lot of testing so I have a good understanding of most of the mechanics, but it will still take some time to develop the most optimal strategies. Before we dive into the boss mechanics and puzzles, let's have a look at the basics. As always, timestamps down below. To start a raid, you'll have to get yourself to the pyramid in Necropolis. The fastest way to get there is with the Pharaoh's Scepter, but if you don't have that, you can also use the Fairy Ring teleport to the east of the pyramid. This requires 62 agility to negotiate the obstacles. You'll need to have completed the Beneath the Cursed Sands quest to start raiding. In the entry room, you can find a bank camel to resupply, a claim chest to get your items from if you were to die, and the obelisk. To create a party, simply click on the obelisk and click Make Party. In the Applicants tab, you will see who is trying to join your party. You can right-click to accept their application. The tab next to that shows all the active and inactive invocations. These will make the raid harder, but there are some with very low impact, which we're gonna be focusing on. I recommend turning on Persistence, you're limited to 5 wipes, Lively Larva, KEPHRI's eggs are more powerful, Not Just the Head, ZEBAK gains access to blood magic, Jungle Japes, Baba's baboons drop banana peels, and shaking things up, Baba's shockwave covers a wider area. Activating these will get you up to 50 points, making you eligible to receive the Charis upgrades, the Needle to upgrade your rune pouch, the Lightbearer Ring, which gives you faster special attack regeneration, and the Osmumten's Fang. If you want to be able to receive the Mazori armor and other uniques, you'll have to increase your invocation point level to 150. I recommend starting with 50 and adding more as you get more comfortable with the bosses, and then just pick whatever seems easiest for you. For the gear, bring good gear for all 3 combat styles. My gear setup is kind of scuffed, but it gets the job done. For starting out, I recommend just camping the trimmed ranged cape and suffering, as it's good for all 3 combat styles and it will give you some extra defense bonus. The Serp helm is great, as you'll often get venomed and poisoned during the raid. I bring the Charis Partisan for KEPHRI, the dung beetle, but I think that if you have a scythe, you can just drop the Charis. Having a Sanguinesti staff would be super great here, as you'll often have to kill some random crap, not even monsters, but you'll get the perk of healing from that crap. A BGS was pretty nice, but I'd recommend using Dragon Claws if you have the money for it. I'll also put up a screenshot from what the guys in the We Do Raids Discord suggest. Definitely join their Discord, I'll put a link to them in the description. With all of that out of the way, let's jump into the raid. When you enter, there will be 4 paths you have to complete, each containing a puzzle at the start and a boss room at the end. You can complete these paths in any order, but I'll show you the best order after explaining all the rooms. The northwestern path is for ZEBAK, the crocodile. For the first room, you'll have to water the Spalm of Resourcefulness until it's fully hydrated. Pick up the water container and take one of the 4 paths to a waterfall. All 4 paths are very similar, but I found the western ones to be the easiest. Simply stick to the southern edge towards the waterfall, fill up your bowl and run back hugging the northern wall. If you get hit by any of the traps, you'll lose 50% of your water. Then feed the water to the tree. After a while, some red crocodiles will start to spawn. These will come after your tree's water. If you have Ice Barrage, you can freeze them and finish them off with magic. In solos, I recommend just letting them be. Once the tree is fully grown, you can proceed to the boss room. ZEBAK is the big crocodile boss. I use my special attacks while using Protect from melee so I don't get chomped, and then attack him from a distance with my blowpipe. He has 2 different basic attacks. When he shoots a ball into the air, splitting into smaller balls, this is his mage attack. When he throws a brick in the air, this is his range attack. He also uses some special attacks. First off, he often spreads poison throughout the room. Don't stand in the poison or you'll be taking massive damage. In combination with the poison, he will also summon some jugs. You can roll these around and destroy them. All the poison around the destroyed jug will be cleaned. Because we turned on the blood magic invocation, there will also be this blood blob floating around. Simply stay away from the blob and it will die off. Occasionally, a series of waves will appear. Don't get hit by the waves or you'll take damage and you might be taken into the water. If you get pushed in the water, you'll have to swim to one of these ramps to climb back up. But his most dangerous special attack by far is his flood attack. He will cover the ground with water, dealing massive damage every tick. To avoid this damage, you have to stand behind these rocks he lays down. The tricky part is, usually these rocks are surrounded with poison. So every time he summons the rocks, you want to get a jug close to the rocks and clear the surrounding area of poison tiles, so you can safely stand behind it when he does his flooding attack. And that's ZEBAK completed. Let's continue on the southwestern path with AKKHA, the gladiator. The puzzle room is pretty self-explanatory, it's a light puzzle. You have to make the light beam hit the shielded statue. You can hit it from any side. To get the light here, you'll have to make use of the mirrors, and sometimes you'll have to mine the damaged barriers. Don't worry, there's a pickaxe spawn in the room. There are some mirrors you have to clean, and usually 3 mirrors you can pick up and place in the correct location. Now it's up to you to use your massive brain to figure this out. Don't worry, it's not too hard. Once the light beam hits the shielded statue, all the players in the room should mine the seal of a hat. Usually this takes 2 rotations. When you get the seal down, you can proceed to the boss room. AKKHA is pretty complex if you don't know how the mechanics work, but once you get it down, it actually gets pretty easy. You want to start off in your mage gear and pray protect from ranged. As you can see, he always uses 2 protection prayers, so you can only hit him with 1 style. He hits with ranged, magic and melee attacks. His ranged attacks are the white spikes, and his mage attack are the red spears. If you're doing this in a party, the person tanking him should be using protect from melee, while the other party members use the correct prayer. Pretty simple. But his unique effects are a bit harder to comprehend. When he gets down to 80% HP, these 4 shadow statues will appear. You'll have to lure AKKHA to one of the 4 quadrants and kill the statue. Once the statue is down, you can damage him again, but only in the quadrant that doesn't have a statue anymore. Once you get him to 60% HP, you'll have to lure him to another statue. I recommend going clock or counterclockwise. Then repeat the same steps. Kill the statue and bring AKKHA to 40% HP in the empty quadrant. His other special attacks are pretty easy to understand. If he turns you black, you have to stand still. If you start moving, you will leave behind some crap you probably don't want in the room. When he turns you white, you will get targeted, but you won't take any damage from the attack. He will cast an AoE attack from your current location. So if you and your other party members get marked white, spread out to not take any damage. He also occasionally does some Simon Says stuff, where these 4 glyphs in the middle will light up in a specific order. Take note of the order of the glyphs lighting up. In this case, black, red, black, yellow. Then just follow the order by changing the quadrant your character is in. I recommend marking these 4 central tiles. Once he gets down to 0 HP, his most deadly phase starts, where he spawns these white floating balls. If you get hit by a ball, you take damage. If you have claws, I recommend speccing him out as soon as possible. In this phase, I turn on my redemption prayer and attack him in the corner and run back to the center constantly. I don't know why, but this seems to reduce the amount of balls you tank, probably just because you run through them when they're 1 or 3 tiles away from you. And that's AKKHA completed. Let's continue on the southeastern path with Baba the Monkey. In my opinion, this is the easiest and most self-explanatory boss of them all, but he has the most annoying puzzle room. Before entering, grab some potions and a hammer. The first player that enters has the sight. The player with the sight will see things that other players can't. There's 3 things the player with the sight has to focus on. Sometimes there will be skulls on top of the vents. If you see this, call out to your team to douse the vents with a potion. Sometimes there will be skulls on the pillars holding up the roof. If you see this, call out to your team that everyone has to repair a pillar. Sometimes some or all players in the room will be marked red. If this happens, run towards each other and use one of the vials to clear the corruption from the player. After a while, another player will receive the sight. While all this is going on, there will be a crap ton of minions spawning. Kill everything. Blowpipe the blue ones, melee the green ones, and mage the red ones. Make sure to focus the ones leaving the venom trails, and keep an eye out for the kamikaze bombers. When you've killed enough monsters, you can proceed to Baba's lair. When you enter the lair, just put on protect from melee and melee him. I've heard that defense lowering special attacks don't work here, but this has not yet been confirmed because we don't have monster examine yet. There's also a rumor going around that hitting him in his crippled ass deals extra damage, but I personally haven't experienced that. During the fight, he uses a couple of special attacks. The most important one to understand is the boulder attack. There will always be 2 piles of rubble on the floor when he casts this attack. You have to stand next to the rubble when the boulder hits you, or you'll take 40 damage. The tricky part is that you have to split up the team between the 2 piles of rubble. If you're a 4-man team, 2 players should go to one pile, and the other 2 players should go to the other pile. I recommend luring Baba in between the piles of rubble so you can easily reach them in time. He'll, throughout the fight, also summon these baboons. These can attack you or the sarcophaguses in the wall. Just kill them. If they manage to fully kill a sarcophagus, there will be some spitting damage erupting from the open sarcophagus, like the healers at ZEBAK. Don't stand next to them. Baba also has a shockwave slam attack, just make sure to keep an eye for the shadows on the floor and dodge them. At 66 and 33% HP left, he phases into Bowling Master mode. You will be pushed back to the edge and he will summon rolling boulders coming your way. Equip your blowpipe and attack the cracked boulder and pass through the gap you just created. If you get hit by a boulder, you'll be knocked back and take about 20 damage. And with him dead, let's continue the final northeastern path to KEPHRI. The team will have to split up here, some go north and some go south. You'll have to complete a series of pretty easy puzzles to get to the end, and you can only proceed on one side when the other side completes their puzzle. I'll quickly show all of them. Puzzle 1. Push the ancient button and take note of the pattern of flashing symbols. Then walk over the tiles in the order they lit up. Puzzle 2. There's 6 obelisks here. You have to find the correct sequence of hitting them. If the sequence is correct, the obelisk will light up, and if you get it wrong, some rocks will fall from the ceiling. Try obelisk A. If that's right, try obelisk AB. If that's incorrect, try AC, AD, and so on, until you get all the obelisks to light up. Puzzle 3. Inspect the ancient tablet. There will be a number written on it. Each of these markings on the floor next to the tablet corresponds with a numerical value. You can check the value of each marking in the entrance room. It goes 1 to 9 in order. Then walk over a combination of markings until it adds up to the number written on the tablet. Or you can just run over it like a madman and hope you get it right. Puzzle 4. This is basically a lightbox puzzle. Run over the glyphs until they're all lit up. If there's one left, you could opt to manually turn the glyph over to light it up at the cost of 20 HP. And the final puzzle, this is basically memory. You have to turn the same glyphs over on each side to make a set. Do this for all the glyphs and you can continue to the next room. KEPHRI is weak to the Charis Partisan, so if you don't have a scythe, definitely use the Charis here. Pray protect from ranged and piety. She shoots out red fireballs that deal magic damage, but these are very easy to dodge. Once her shield goes down, she'll go in an intermission phase where a ton of crap starts to spawn. I'd focus on the bigger scarabs first, as they start dealing more and more damage the longer they remain alive. The little scarab swarms will regenerate her shield, so try not to let them get too close to KEPHRI. I recommend marking these with the NPC Indicators plugin, because they can be quite hard to spot. You also have to pay attention to the kamikaze bombers here. Bugs will fly out and blow up in your face, just keep an eye out for the shadows on the floor to avoid them. She will occasionally shoot out a line of poop, dividing the players in the room. If you're doing this in a team, just make sure you don't get all stuck in one area. You want to have access to as much of the room as possible, so make sure to split up during the fight. And finally, she'll also summon some eggs. After a pretty long delay, they explode, dealing some damage. If you can't stay away from them, you can also kill them. And that is KEPHRI dead. Now that we have completed all 4 paths, we can proceed to the final challenge, the Wardens. This final boss is also split up in 2 rooms, with 2 phases in each room. Phase 1. You must kill the obelisk in the center of the room. This is best done with magic. There will be these rolling balls moving towards the 2 Wardens. When a Warden gets fully charged up with the energy from the balls, they will call on some UFOs to fuck you up. This attack is easily avoided by not standing in the shining lights, but if both Wardens get charged up at the same time, UFOs will cover the entire area and you won't be able to dodge it. So you want to block some of the rolling balls to make sure that not both Wardens use their UFO attack at the same time. The Wardens can also cast 2 types of large balls of energy. If this attack happens, you will get notified in your chat box. If it's a blue ball, your team has to spread out. If it's a red ball, your team has to stack up. If you don't do this correctly, you could easily get wiped. Phase 2. One of the wardens will get off their ass and try to clap you. The wardens use 2 protection prayers, so you can only use 1 combat style, and they have 2 basic attacks. The red skulls are magic attacks and the brown rocks are ranged attacks. Pray accordingly. They can also use melee attacks if you're in melee range, so keep your distance. There will also just be a load of special attacks going on. It's all pretty self-explanatory. Just dodge any of the red crap on the floor, dodge the grey projectiles or you will be stunned for a short time, and try to not get hit by electricity, though I'm not sure you can predict where the electricity will land. When you fully charge his yellow meter, he will drop down and become untargetable. You can now attack his core, dealing damage to his actual health pool. If you have claws, this is the time to use them, especially in combination with the adrenaline potion, which makes you use less special attack energy per spec. Do this 2 or 3 times and you can move on to the next room. Phase 3. For this room you want to switch to your ranged gear. You don't need to use any protection prayers at the start. You want to stay on the middle 3 tiles to easily dodge his first attack. He will raise his hand and release a shockwave sweeping the floor. There is a pattern to this. For me, he always started with a shockwave left, then a shockwave right, and then shockwave both left and right with only the center being clear. This pattern keeps repeating over and over again. After some time, he will throw out these red skulls. Switch to a melee weapon and kill all of the skulls. This will damage the warden. Keep repeating this process. When he's at around 60% HP left, he will summon the spirit of either ZEBAK or AKKHA, depending on which of the 2 guardians you've powered up in the previous room. These will use their basic attacks to help out the warden. Switch to protect from magic or protect from ranged according to the attacks they're using, while you keep dodging the floor rug flip attack. At around 33% health left, he will call on some more homies to help out, summoning the spirit of KEPHRI or Baba, which will start dropping rocks on your head to give you a solid concussion. Stay out of the shadows cast on the floor. And finally, for his last phase, he will completely go nuts and starts destroying the room and starts shooting out even more projectiles. Try to keep up the DPS while moving in between every shot. And that's it, you've completed the raid. Now go to one of the chests and find out if this was worth your effort. Okay, now I want to finish off the guide with mentioning some additional information. After completing the 2nd and the 4th path, you can get a resupply from the ghost dude in the center. I found out that chaos for the 2nd path is usually best as it gives a ton of smelling salts, which are basically overloads, and a good combination of brews and restores. After the 4th path, I typically go for the life package as I usually have some leftover salts, but I'm running low on brews and restores. If you want to know what all of these potions do, simply examine them in-game and the game will tell you. Because of this, I keep the hardest and most tribrid rooms for last, so I can have the overload salts for those. The rotation I like running with is ZEBAK first, as you only use ranged and I find him quite easy. Baba second, as he's melee only and quite easy as well. Then I do AKKHA because he's quite hard and you need to use all 3 attack styles, so the salts definitely come in clutch. And finally KEPHRI. And finally, a quick word about some invocations. More invocations don't just add special effects, but they also just make the rooms generally harder. Bosses seem to hit harder and get more total hit points. The limited death invocation talk about a number of wipes, not singular deaths. On a diet, which seems like a really good one, is currently bugged, making you not able to heal from brews either. I will definitely turn this one on when it gets fixed. Mind the Gap is really hard as you have to time when you phase Baba perfectly or you'll all end up falling in a pit. If you're gonna try using this invocation, give it a trial run first, you'll see what I mean. You all have to stay out of the center when he reaches 66 or 33% health or you'll all be insta-killed. And that's about all I have to say about Raids 3. It's pretty overloaded, but I'll have chapters up on the timeline so you can skip to the boss you're about to kill. When you're starting out, I recommend you don't turn on any of the timer invocations, so you can easily refer to this guide before every room if you think you need it. Note that if you're watching this in the future, some of this information may not be 100% accurate as this is only a day 2 guide. If you have anything to add, I'll place a pinned comment compiling all of your advice. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna get some sleep now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!